My next guest has been named one of Glamour's College Women of the Year, 17 Magazine's Voice of the Year, and has even appeared on the cover of Time magazine. Bushra Amiwala made her first run for political office at the age of just 19. She did not win, but she didn't let that stop her. In 2019, as a junior in college, she ran for office again, this time for her local school board in Skokie, Illinois, and won, making her the youngest Muslim woman elected to office in the United States. Please welcome to the Tam fam, Bushra Amiwala. How are you? Bushra, I just marvel, first of all, at your story. When you look at the magazine covers and you have all of the accolades, how do you process the reception when you know that so often people have demonized, and even that your hair is covered, people will use that against you and your faith? But then you have the cover of Time magazine, and then you get all these accolades. How do you process that?
Yeah, you know, when I was younger, I used to not even have a magazine subscription. I used to be, standing at a CVS pharmacy, grab a magazine, read it real quick. So to be on the cover of magazines myself, it's such a surreal experience, and it's representation at a way where you haven't seen it before. To see someone who looks like you represented in that aspect, I think is such a powerful experience. And to be that person for the next generation, it's something that means so much to me.
Well, I marvel at that because so often, especially from my perspective, when I talk about representation, I talk about, from my perspective of being a Black woman, wanting to see more Black women on TV and in executive offices and women in general. The perspective of representation in faith is a conversation we don't have enough. And seeing you means something to other little Muslim children.
Absolutely.
You've been called an up-and-coming faith influencer. Now, we know influencers, we think y'all are getting us to buy some makeup or some TikTok, tips on beauty. To be a faith influencer, I'd never heard that, honestly, until I started reading your story. What does it mean in this modern world?
Absolutely. To me, I've always recognized it as the integration of a lifestyle, and that lifestyle being one's faith. I think too often we sometimes put faith in a box and ignore it, as opposed to integrating it into who we are in every elements of ourselves, whether it be praying during the day or keeping halal or choosing not to wear nail polish, like little things like that that are integrations within the faith that showcase a lifestyle is kind of what I think. Influencers are lifestyle bloggers, but I think faith influencers are the same thing, but with faith being championed at the forefront.
What I like, too, is that the way you do it and so many other young people, when I grew up, people would say, oh, you can't talk about politics and faith at the dinner table. And I'm thinking, isn't that exactly where you talk about it? Somebody gonna throw a turkey across the room? You should be able to have a conversation. And I see so many people in your age group not adhering to that rule of you can't talk about politics and you can't talk about religion. You just have to do it in a civilized manner. How do you have these dialogues with your friends at such a young age, especially?
Yeah, I mean, you see my title, youngest Muslim elected in the country, and it's like faith and politics. Like, you can't talk about my story, right? But I think it's the everyday instances that make it tangible, and I think it makes it easier to digest, and it's seeing me as a person first, and everything else comes after that. And I think that's what makes it easier to have those conversations.
And I understand what you're saying by seeing you as a person first, and then everything comes after. When you are talking about faith, many times, like for me, I don't want it to be separate. I want people to know that I am a Christian, and whether I'm not trying to recruit you and I'm not trying to you tell me that I'm wrong, but it's a part of me.
Yes.
When you want it separate, how do you handle it?
Yeah, I think it's yes and.
Yes and. Yeah. Okay, I love that. So it's yes and this is who I am.
Absolutely. And so what's interesting is when I was running for public office, people would say that she's playing identity politics and then use my identity as my politics. So it's almost as though I was robbed of certain experiences as a result. And it's like the accusation would come when it was convenient for someone else.
You are something. I mean, listen, I am so happy to have you on. So wonderful to see your journey. Where do you see things going next? Particularly because it's an and conversation.
it's serving as an inspiration for not just young Muslim people, but for anyone who is young, up and coming. I think when I talk about the intersection of all of my identities, it's not just that I'm a young person, I'm a young woman. It's not just that I'm a Muslim person, I'm a Muslim woman. It's not just that I'm a person of color, I'm a woman of color. And I think that intersecting identity of being a woman is what will carry me forward. And it's that sort of mentorship and support from other women that have led me to where I am today.
Oh, wow. Congratulations on everything. We will be watching where this journey goes. Bushra, thank you. And you can read all about Bushra's journey in her new book, Courage, The Beauty of Living Dangerously, available everywhere. Mark your calendar, June 1st.